is dawning, let's greet it with singing. The new day is dawning, let's greet it with singing. The new day is dawning, with melody with singing. The new day is dawning, let's greet it with singing. The new day is dawning, let's greet it with singing. The new day is dawning.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to First Parish Unitarian Universalist Canton for our homecoming service, our very first service of our 2022-23 church year. My name is John Donovan, and I will be the worship associate this morning. It is a pleasure to see you all again in person, a pleasure to have our choir reassembled here today. It's been a very long time since we had a full, robust choir. I want to say hello to everybody who's joining us also virtually on Zoom this morning. We have a lot to introduce this morning. One notable introduction is our new minister, the Reverend Dr. Clyde Grubbs, and we are very happy to have him here.
Hello.
Also joining us this morning, to my right, is Elizabeth Foster, our ministerial intern. And you'll see Elizabeth partaking in services here as well as helping with the children as well. I want to welcome back Amber Reef, who's assisting us, Jim, this morning in the choir. And also joining us this morning is Elisa Scully, our office administrator. You can get to know her during coffee hour this morning.
So in your pews, before I have an announcement to make, it's about the service, you'll find little cards with the pencils. I was told they were in there. There, they are. So this service is about water, and how important and vital water is to us. Water is life. And so what we're asking you to do is to write down some memory you have that's very warm about water. You know, like I really love mowing the lawn with my bare feet when it's wet. Or something. I remember beach parties before the pandemic. So when you write down it, we will read it out in the ceremony at the end of the service. So my call to worship is adapted from Seth Carrier Ladd. Wind that whispers through the willow trees, sun that sustains us, water that washes over a willing earth and weathered stones, a smile shared and savored, children's delight as they dance on the grass, the quiet joy of gathered friends. This is the spirit of ingathering we call forth now. May this spirit infuse our hearts, fill our souls, and carry us toward a wave on the ocean as we enter into this time and this space. So now we will see our chalice lit.
Our chalice lighting for this morning is by Janet Parsons. The flame of our chalice this morning is a symbol of the warmth and brightness of our connections. The flame lights our way back together again from our separate summer lives, and it lights our way forward into this new church year of promise and renewal.
Let us join in reading together the covenant of First Parish Unitarian Universalist of Canton. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is his sacrament. As is his prayer. To dwell together in peace, with respect and understanding, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve our fellows in humankind, to the end that all souls shall grow together in harmony. Thus do we with each other and with our God, by whatsoever name we worship. Reading your covenant, I can tell that there are Unitarian elements in there and there are Universalist elements in there. Someday we might want to talk about that history and how you rewrote your covenant after the two congregations joined. Our opening hymn is Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. Let us sing. It's number 361 in your hymnal. Our story for this Sunday is called Two Rivers. It's a story about water in this whole planet, brought to focus around water in a very specific place. Once upon a time, high in the clouds in the sky, there were 2 drops of rain. There were lots of other drops of rain, but the story isn't about all the other drops of rain. It's about these 2 drops of rain. There are these 2 drops of rain.
The mountain is under us.
Look at that poor dry mountain. Must be time to fall.
The rain came down from the sky, among other raindrops. Please join us in creating the storm by following us as we clap and tap and sing. Yeah, you couldn't get a great night's sleep in that rainstorm. Once the rain stopped pouring over the mountains, you could see here and there the 2 rivers running down it. The wide river was on the top, gently sloping mountain, and it made its way down slowly as it turned again on its journey.
I just love to burble along the mountainside. My water is so calm and placid. It's just the absolute best.
The rushing river ran along a narrow, rocky gorge and even plunged straight down in a waterfall.
Don't you just love the icy snowmelt? I'm so cold. And the white foam my water makes, it's the absolute best.
Before long, the 2 rivers were arguing with each other who was the best river of all.
Look, I am home to leafy plants and bullfrogs, and see how the animals just love to come drink from my calm banks. I am the most wonderful, nurturing river of all.
Check out my gorgeous drama. I cascade, I rush. I'm full of oxygen and excitement. I'm the spawning ground for salmon. What could possibly be better?
Oh, please, you are exhausting. I am the best river.
Get real, you are boring. I'm the best river of all.
So it went. Down the mountains, down both mountains. The 2 rivers fighting and arguing all the way.
To be continued.
Join me in a time of reflection, meditation, prayer. The original people in the area around Seneca, New York isn't that far from us, have been there for 1,000 years, are the Seneca people. Nyla Nitsch is a Seneca, and he shares with us a story. One of the first things Seneca children learned was that they create their own world, their own environment, by visualizing actions and desires in prayer. The Seneca believed that everything that made life important came from deep within by visioning the good way, and acting to fulfill that vision. So when we pray, let us pray in that good way, visioning the world as it needs to be, and us as we need to be as well. Creative One, called by so many names, we are grateful for the days we have been given, for the beauty we have been blessed with. May we be devoted to sharing these blessings for generations to come. We envision a beloved community in which war and oppression are relics of the past, and where the inherent worth and dignity of every person is not simply a slogan, but a lived reality. We covenant to living that way, of being into our practice, into our witness, into our covenant with each other. So now let us join in the communion of silence, each of us praying our own hopes, our own aspirations, loving the heartbeats of this gathered community, hearing the breathing of your neighbor, and praying for peace and world of goodness. Let us have silence. Amen. So be it. Act 2 of our story. After some time, the rivers began to notice they were reaching the foothills, and they could tell that something very basic was changing. The rushing river wasn't as steep and fast anymore, and fewer animals came to drink in the banks of the wide river.
I wonder why I seem a little sleepy today.
And what's that taste in my water? It's almost salty.
In a little while, the rivers could see what was happening. Stretched out before them, glistening in the sun, was a vast body of water, bigger than the two of them put together. It was the ocean.
Oh boy, it's on to a new adventure. Here I come.
This looks a little scary. But I guess I could make some new friends here. Maybe a new animal or two?
And so the two rivers flowed down and out of the mountains and came to join each other in all the other waters of the sea. And a dolphin leaped into the fresh streams of water, and the water that used to be the rushing river thought it tickled.
To be continued. At this time, we're going to have our offertory, and your contribution goes to both the good works of this church and the community and the operations of this church. So please give as generously as you can. If you're watching this virtually, you can also contribute via PayPal, and we'll have that information in the Zoom chat. Your contributions are greatly received. Thank you.
We are living in the great big river. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. They will all swimming to the other side. Whatever blows
The waters of the ocean taught the water that used to be the wide river how to make waves. Very important life lesson. Waves. The hot sun glistened on all of the waters.
Welcome to the ocean, my river friends. I bring together waters from your mountain and many, many other mountains, and the rain.
Just as soon as the ocean mentioned the rain, something began to happen. The sun was so warm that the water on the very surface of the ocean in a very tiny particles began to get into the air and float upwards. Even though each piece was so tiny, so very tiny, that the surface of the ocean was so vast that water floated up was actually quite a lot.
Whee! We're flying!
As they floated up, they found each other in the air. You know what they began to form together? That's right. They became clouds, rain clouds. And as they floated up until the wind blew them at the top of a gently sloping mountain with narrow rocky gorge, and then it began to rain.
Here we go again. Come on.
Okay, here we go.
Join in the ritual of rain. might need to know the rain, how to do that. It helps bring the rain on. Began to rain. They floated up at the top of the gently floating mountain in a narrow gauge, and it began to rain. And raindroplet one. Did you already do that? Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, do it again.
Here we go again. Come on.
Okay, here we go.
And some of the water that had been in the wide river ended up in the rushing river, and some of the water that had been in the rushing river ended up in the wide river.
Oh, look at that beautiful deer. It's drinking from me. I guess it's nice to be a part of a wide river after all.
And say, it's really kind of fun to rush down a waterfall like this. Whee!
So the waters that had merged in the ocean were able to see things in a whole new way. A whole new way, because they remembered where they come from. They remember what they had been like. And where now they recognize that they took many forms, each different, but somehow connected. Each different, but somehow connected, and very beautiful. Very beautiful. Fifty years ago, maybe it was 51. 50 years ago, activists gathered in Michigan to discuss and make plans. They were women Unitarian Universalists from all over North America. And they came together to make plans. They wanted to confront the male gender bias in the Unitarian Universalist movement. And the hymnal of UU churches used at that time, maybe you remember it, blue hymnal, used words like mankind to describe humanity, and referred to the source of all creation with words like Lord, and male pronouns to refer to the divine. There was a general practice within the Unitarian movement, include just a culture of practice, that leaders should be men, and that women ministers served as assistants with small churches. The conferees brought their concerns to the General Assembly together. They made a manifesto, and they went to the General Assembly of Unitarian Universalist churches, and that resulted in the Women and Religion Commission, with the commission to look at problems that might exist within the association and recommend reforms. And over the next decade, there were a whole series of reforms. Change happens when people organize and persevere. Now, the water communion, as a way of gathering for a common purpose, began at that conference. The women were asked to bring some water from their hometown and talk about the reality of women in their congregation. And congregations have adapted the ceremony as a way of beginning the church year. We gather for common purpose and shared commitment. Common purpose and shared commitment. Unitarian Universalists across this continent are gathering today, or maybe they did last week. But basically, probably there are 600 or 700 congregations that had a summer program or took a little time off and regathering on this Sunday. When I was in Austin, Texas, I'll tell you a story. There were more people sitting in the pews in July than there were in November. So we really didn't have to have a homecoming ceremony because summer was a big attendance time. My Cherokee mind says, these people are coming for the free air conditioning. So they're gathered, we're part of a movement of people gathering all over the United States, Canada. I think it's spread to Australia and England for the purpose of developing their new year and their declared purpose of realizing beloved community and devoting themselves to being in right relationship with our beautiful earth, our transcendent skies, and the living waters that sustain all that we do. Now, we talk about climate change, and for good reason. But sometimes I hear much of the talk about climate change to be centered around our lifestyle and the uncomfortable realization that we will have to make some changes, use less fossil fuel, recycle, reuse. And all those are good things. But such lifestyle-focused talk misses the mark. That we are experiencing today is a spiritual crisis, a profound crisis of relationship. For millions of years, human beings lived in relationship to the earth, to the waters, to the sky. They lived in relationship. It was part of who they were. But we're no longer living as if we belong to earth. Rather, we live as if earth belonged to us. The rising of young people in the American Indian community known as Standing Rock, North Dakota, in response to the Eldridge Corporation's arrogant laying of a petroleum pipeline across and under a lake that gave life to that community, a lake that fed not only that community's agriculture and water needs, but that lake fed into the Missouri River and then into the Mississippi River and life-giving waters for our entire nation's agricultural system. That lake, if it was endangered, would hurt all the way down to New Orleans from North Dakota. Probably find some way to go up to Canada, too. Pipelines leaking petroleum into the water is death to plants, to animals in that ecology, and basically in a world that is short of food, has had 40 more, there may be 40 more harvests left if we don't do something. So the pipelines was death, and what those young people did is utter a prophetic prayer in ceremony. They uttered the prayer, "Water is life. Water is life." And a prophetic prayer is a call to action. And people across the world responded, water is endangered, and we are endangered without water. People came from Chile, from Mexico, from all over the United States to Standing Rock to camp out with those young people. And people, I remember meetings in Roxbury where people were bringing their material to be shipped, sleeping bags, camping equipment, to be shipped to Standing Rock. 5 years later, we're seeing more clearly that we must cherish water, protect water, love all the water, for water is life. We can think of what we see on television, forest fires, breaking of dams that destroy the water system of Montgomery, Alabama, water being poisoned in cities like in Michigan. We're all invited to share memories of water, to share thoughts about water. And as the notes about water are collected in offering plate or by the way of chat or Zoom or emails, I haven't received any emails. We'll hear those little notes read aloud and pour some water into this bowl representing all water. For as the story made clear, I hope, all water in this world is one. Water.
Morning meeting in a spring-fed pond, sharing the gaze of a bullfrog.
From a farmer's daughter, water is life.
I love the sound of being underwater. It takes me back to childhood, summers at the beach and swimming in my friend's pool. It's calm, peaceful, and blocks out all the outside noise, a very brief moment of meditation.
Water is the peace of the calm lake. Water is a refresher, bringing renewal. Water is life, as became so apparent when watering at a community garden.
A glass of cold water after coming in from working in the garden. Splashing of the waves against my boat in Mattapoisett at Buzzards Bay. Lapping of the water against the dock.
Water, healer of body and soul, our sacred lifeblood, our planet's sacred lifeblood, we hydrate with a pinch of sea salt to nourish our cells, our bodies, our soul.
Precious water that fed my plants so the critters enjoyed a good meal. With a smiley face next to it.
Water is essential for swimming, for drinking, so beautiful, and this is signed Hazel.
The falls in Colton, New York, which we walked to with our friend and cousin, Pat Spears, who just turned 80 and can still hike through the woods.
At the beach, looking out on the ocean is more compelling than the screen in my hand.
I used to, when we moved to Massachusetts from Texas, the first town we lived in was Holland, Massachusetts. It was walking distance to Gun Rock Beach. I used to wade in that water. I learned to be a frogman. A formative experience. Oh, I didn't. Water is life. Forms rivers, oceans, seas, and rain clouds. When I began in the ministry, we used to ask people to stand for the benediction and hold out their hand to their neighbor. And then there was a flu epidemic and a COVID epidemic. And it's still a part of my understanding of what the benediction is to reach out to your neighbors. So use your eyes and your souls and your words, and look at the people in this congregation. Some of you have been coming here for decades. Some are new. Look, this is the community of power. A community of power, and great power demands great responsibility. Demands that you use it for the good. And a congregation can change the world. James Luther Adams, long time ago, said a congregation is the most powerful organization in a community because it owns a mimeograph machine. Well, I've seen the stuff in your office, and it's more sophisticated than that. But you do have power. So the idea that you will use your power for love and transformation and community will make such a difference in this Canton community. So go now in love, go in peace, and make justice together. John said it a long time ago. It's so long you may have forgotten, but you're all invited to social hour. Oh.